We have all had the experience of reading and coming to a word we can't instantly read by sight. For adult readers, it's usually a really specialized word that we haven't seen many times. But for young readers, it could be any sort of word that for whatever reason hasn't been fully mapped in their memories. So what exactly should teachers encourage children to do to solve a word like this? The best way to answer this question is to draw on what we know about proficient word reading.
There are 4 key ideas to keep in mind. First, when a reader stops to decode a word, they aren't just solving a problem for that particular moment of difficulty. They're creating a learning opportunity to map that word and patterns in it more fully into their sight word lexicon. In other words, it's a chance to learn something about the word that will make them more likely to read it automatically the next time they see it.
Second, it's important to keep in mind that in order to get better at reading the word next time, you need to activate 3 different bits of information about the word: how it sounds, how it is spelled, and what it means. The child's ability to read and understand a word will rely on all 3.
But, and this is the 3rd key idea, remember that proficient readers don't guess at words based on context or meaning. They rely heavily on knowledge of sound and spelling to turn letters into recognizable words. Then they use meaning and context to confirm the word, not the other way around.
Finally, it can be helpful to use a consistent process to model word solving for children and help them take on increased independence in leading this process so that they don't have to rely on a teacher or parent every time they get to an unfamiliar word. You can promote this kind of self-regulated learning by creating an easy-to-follow strategy routine for students. For example, you can use a bookmark or an anchor chart like this one.
This bookmark breaks word reading into 2 main steps. First, it gives you 3 different strategies to help you use letters and sounds to estimate a word based on phonology and orthography. Sometimes you will need one of these strategies. Other times you might try 2 or all 3 of them. It really just depends on the structure of the word and how easily the reader is able to decode it. Then, in step 2, the bookmark reminds the reader to monitor or check the word after analyzing the letters and sounds. Let's demonstrate these principles in action. I'll play the part of the teacher.
And I'll be the student. Imagine I am reading this sentence and I am doing just fine, effortlessly recognizing the words until I get to this word. A lot of people have very... what is that word?
Remember our bookmark we've been using to guide us to figure out a word. What can we try first?
The microphone one?
Okay, what does that mean?
Look at the letters and sound it out. Strong?
You certainly analyzed those letters closely. If I wasn't here to tell you, how could you check it?
Read and see if it makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have very strong feelings about how to teach reading. Oh yeah, that works.
I agree. That word is strong. I'll write that one down so we can practice it more later.
Let's show them a different example, this time with a longer word that I might not already know in my spoken vocabulary. What if I'm reading something and I get stuck like this? Teachers know a lot about how to help kids do... I'm not sure.
Well, look at our bookmark. What can we do to try to figure out this word?
The scissors one?
Okay. Which means?
Break it into smaller parts that I can work with.
Okay, that's a good idea for a longer word like this. Instead of just sounding out the individual letters like we did before, it might help to chunk the word into syllables first. So how do we chunk this into syllables?
D.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lope.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and break that word into parts to help us figure out what the whole word is. So let's look at this again. Lope. You said lope for this last syllable. Is there another sound that O can make?
Oh,
So what would this syllable be?
Lop.
Lop. Let's try that together, okay?
Develop. Develop.
That's right. Sounds like develop is a new word for you. It means to grow, or in this case, to learn or get better. Let's collect that word to talk about it some more later.
Okay, but what about this scenario? Watch what I do here. The skins of reading teaches us a lot, but it doesn't tell us everything.
Here's something you did in that sentence that I want to point out. You read it like this. The skins of reading teaches us a lot, but it doesn't tell us everything. Is there anything that didn't sound like it quite made sense?
Oh, skins of reading doesn't sound right.
Good. Now remember, whenever you're reading, to think about if the words you're reading make sense and to stop and think when they don't. Like hearing an alarm bell in your head that goes ding, 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 something isn't quite right here, I should investigate. So let's look at the word in the text that you misread. What does this word say? Use your bookmark to figure it out, just like before.
I should use the letters and sounds to sound it out. S, sk, sk, I, sky.
Well, in this word, the SC actually makes the S sound, and this word has 2 syllables, like this. So use those clues to help you sound out the rest of the word.
S, I, sigh, and science. Science.
Awesome.
Now I'll check it. The science of reading teaches us a lot, but it doesn't tell us everything.
Good stuff. Now when you see the word science spelled like that, you'll know a little bit more about how to read it.
I think I noticed something really important in those examples that we should emphasize at the end of this video.
Yes?
You never asked me to guess the meaning of the word based on what would make sense in the sentence.
That's right. What did we do instead?
Well, we thought carefully about the letters and the sounds and the structure of the word. We did end up using the meaning of the sentence to check ourselves in the bottom part of the bookmark, but we didn't start there.
Well said.
One more question. Would you ever just tell a child a word they don't know, rather than making them try to puzzle through it like we just did?
I knew you were going to ask that. If you call to mind the 4 key principles we introduced at the beginning of this video, I think you'll be able to infer my answer. It depends on the child and the word and the type of reading we're doing. If you know the word is something the child has probably never seen or heard before, or it contains spelling patterns you know they aren't familiar with yet, sure, it probably makes sense to just tell them and not make it into a big thing. You definitely don't want them making wild guesses because that's not a very useful habit. Telling the word is also a good way to handle it if you're reading with a child at home for fun. But whenever possible, try to tell them the word in a way that helps them learn something new about it, so it'll make it easier for them the next time they read it.